So something that we say a lot, or I know that I say it a lot, is that like everything that we need is already within us. We talk a lot about like infinite potential and that we can do anything that we want. And I strongly believe that. But that also doesn't mean that we like don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
I think everything is within us, but that needs to be cultivated in some way. We're sort of like, it's like we're always becoming the version of ourselves that we need to be for like the next thing. And it's like a continuous system and we're always evolving.
Yeah. It's school. We're learning. We're
Mm-hmm.
in Earth school or soul
Yeah.
school, if you'd like
Yeah.
to say that.
The
And
university of life.
yeah, did you just make that up?
I'm sure I've heard it before. But
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Uh,
Yes. The University of Life. Yes. 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 There is so much to gain from this shift in perspective
yeah.
that life is happening for me, not to me.
Yeah. That's huge.
And I really believe that this has been a big part of my waking up to the fact that in every circumstance, there's an opportunity to learn something, whether that be good or bad, however you
Yeah.
want to label it. Like there's lessons in pain, but there's also lessons in happiness and joy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and exactly as you're saying, it's not that we're not all perfect as we are. Of course, we're expressing in the way that we almost are unaware of. We kind of express unconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
But when we switch on that aware button and become privy to life being a teacher, there's lessons in every corner of life. It becomes so much more empowering. Like you can almost allow life to flow through you as opposed to controlling the circumstances
Mm-hmm.
of what's happening and continue to live in fear and lack. And if it's a reframe of, oh, wait a minute, maybe this fear, this lack is teaching me something. How can I transcend it? How can I work with this? How can I ignite what's in me that's kind of dormant to come awake?
Yeah. And you said something beautiful there is like life is flowing through me.
Mm,
And I think that that's sort of like that's the next progression of what you started to say before. It's like we tend to start off in sort of thinking like life is happening to me. And then we progress towards like, oh, life is happening for me. And that's like what we're talking about here. It's like everything that we experience is an opportunity to learn something about ourselves until we eventually get to the point where it's like, oh, life is actually just happening through me. And it's like not even me, it's just happening. And it's like that's sort of like
yeah.
the evolution of consciousness in a nutshell.
Yes.
And we can kind of we'll focus on sort of that middle segment here. It's like life is happening for me.
Yeah.
Because like everything that we experience, whether it's good or bad, is an opportunity to learn something about ourselves. And like you said, like awareness or like waking up is sort of like realizing that everything is sort of like us pushed out. And it's
Mm.
like it's who we are and what we're dealing with on the inside. Everything's a fractal. As above, so below, as within, so without. And everything that we are experiencing, all the inner conflict, all the like suppressed and repressed emotions, like all that stuff is going to play out before us because that's how life gives us the opportunity to see it and notice the things that we're kind of like hiding from ourselves.
And the key there is to notice it, to become
Yeah.
aware. It wholeheartedly
Mm-hmm.
believe you have to become aware because for, 33, 34 years of my life, I wasn't aware. I just operated
Mm-hmm.
unconsciously for the majority of what I do. Now I still do things unconsciously. There's a million trillion patterns that have been created in my brain that I'm working through, but I'm at least aware, and I'm aware when I fall back into unconscious patterns. But isn't it what I find so amazing about this reframe is when we tend to put ourselves in a box or a bubble of life. Oh, life is crappy. This happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Woe me. And I've been there, done that. It's so limiting.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, you feel suffocated. You can't get yourself out of this box. because when you're in it, then you also look for outside circumstances to get you out of it. But it's like, if you can understand that you, almost that higher aspect of you, yourself that wants you to evolve and elevate, is providing you with circumstances, scenarios to grow. But if you're not aware of it, and then you feel trapped and confined, and what's going to happen again? The lesson's going to repeat itself until you realize it. We talk about this as an example all the time. How many people get into intimate relationships or jobs that they hate, that it's the same thing over and over again? That's a pattern. Life is trying to teach you something. It's trying to tell you something. Your soul is calling you to go deeper. Look within. What is this message? What can you uncover? But you can't look elsewhere. You can't go to someone to tell you what it is. Like, it's within you. And I think that that's what you meant by we have the power within us to figure it out. There can be people that aid us along the way, right? That's what, like, why shadow work is so important, and why, like, you can identify your judgments. All of those are scenarios that we're talking about, life presenting you with lessons and opportunities to uncover, to dig deeper.
Yeah, but you have to be aware of the fact that you need it first. Or like I'll say for myself, I'm sure I've like kind of come across and been presented with the teachers that I needed at certain points in my life, and I had no idea that I needed them, so I didn't get the lessons. And it's like,
we've had this conversation
like,
on multiple, I guess.
That's the thing about patterns, is that they keep repeating. And if you miss it, like, it'll keep coming. You're going to get the opportunity. But like saying, like, when the teacher's ready, I mean, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. And it's not because the teacher's been waiting for the student to be ready. It's because once you get to that point, you start to realize that, like, everything is a lesson. And the teacher's just going to be there because that's what you're ready for.
Our relationship is a great example of life giving us lessons through it, just because, it's because we are showing the unconscious patterns that are within us. And like, I'm triggered by things you do, but I'm not really triggered at you. It's the trigger within me trying to show me, knock at my door. It's not Dan, it's you. What you're suppressing under there is something that needs to be either transformed, released, integrated, whatever it may be. And this is very individual for the person. Everyone's unique. Everyone has their different kind of like karmic wheel that we're on as we've incarnated specifically here within this, Earth school. I wholeheartedly believe that there are lessons that could be carried over from generations and different lifetimes. But we're kind of focusing on this life as our lesson.
I think there's a common theme that is, we're all here to learn the lessons that we need to learn, but the individuation of it is that every one of us has different lessons at different times.
Yes, so much. Yes.
And I think that, like, that is why seems like every, like, spiritual tradition or teacher or religion, school, like mystery school, like, they all said something to the effect of, like, know thyself. And it's like, it's not about all the other stuff. The other stuff is just there to help you learn about yourself. And as we keep saying, like, sort of like, as you start to become aware of this, you start to realize that, like, exactly that. It's like everything is there to show us something about ourselves. And like, knowing yourself starts with figuring out all the things that aren't you. So like, I started this show up saying, like, we all have within us the exact things that we need for our life. We're perfect, but we also have a lot of other stuff. We have a lot of attachments, a lot of agreements, a lot of like programming and conditioning and other people's opinions and fears and all that stuff. So I think a huge part of like learning to know yourself and know like who you truly are is questioning all those beliefs and all those agreements and all those fears, and finding out if they're actually really there, if they are what you think they are. And as you start to strip away all these different things that aren't you, you're left with who you are. And I think that is such a powerful position to be in. I keep saying like reframe, because I think it's a really important that you can have the exact same life with a different perspective. And as your perspective changes, everything that you experience also changes, and everything becomes your teacher. And there's a huge difference. I've said this term before. Like, the willingness to be honest with yourself is such a huge part of this. And there's a huge difference between being honest with yourself versus like the ego always wants to jump in and like justify and validate your own things. And I can speak from experience. I know a lot of times in the past, like maybe we get in a fight, and then the fight's over and I walk away, and I'll keep like re-explaining to myself what just happened, making myself a little more right every time. And I think we all do this. Like, I'm not, it's something we all know this. But it's like whatever it is, like you just keep replaying the story, but each time it changes just a little bit, where it's like, actually, they shouldn't have even said that. And it's like all these little things, we just kind of keep twisting and manipulating the story till we have this new story in our head where like this person came completely out of nowhere, blindsided me, said this thing, they're so wrong, I would never do something like that. And it like we just completely changed the whole situation. And then great, you win. You get to stay in victimhood forever. And everything's happening to me. You don't learn anything about yourself. You, in fact, get further from knowing yourself. You don't fix the situation. Jordan Peterson has a great quote where he talks about like fighting with his wife, and he says like why would I ever want to like fight with my wife? Like, if you win, congratulations, now you live with a loser. And it's such an interesting reframe. It's a weird thing because you have like there's couples that are always fighting and like trying to get the upper hand on each other. It's like, why would I want to like beat you in a fight? That doesn't help anything. Like, but it's like it's such a natural thing because it's like our like animal instinct to like
survival.
Like, got to be the winner.
Yeah.
But it's like we need the whole point of any conversation should be to get, or I don't know why I say should, but to get to an equal ground and be like, okay, like this is what you believe and you feel, and this is what I feel, and how can we make it work for both of us, rather than like I win and now you have to do what I say. Like, it's such a strange thing, but so many people do it.
Yeah.
But it's like the willingness to just be honest with yourself and treat everything like an opportunity to learn is how you grow and evolve, and then how you actually, like you're saying before, like cultivate what is already within you so that you're ready for whatever comes next.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so powerful in that reframe. I think that was a very good example that you gave. I just want to circle back to as the lessons come, because kind of like you're saying, like those are really powerful lessons, like fights, judgments, losses, traumas, things like that. They really help us, elevate and evolve. But we tend to lessen the lessons on happiness and joy. And I feel like that mostly comes from childhood. It's kind of like beaten out of us to have fun. Like once you hit a certain age, it's like life is so serious and
start acting your age.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel something I'm really trying to work on recently is like bringing back like the childhood excitement that I lost for so long. And it's like I'm really even trying to remember, like I've had to journal about this, like what do I get excited about? Because I've lost it. I'm like not even sure. And my preferences have changed. Like I don't love to play with dolls anymore. Like that's just a silly kind of example. But I do like to, like I love to dance and I love to color. But you don't think of coloring as like something you do as like an adult, but it can be really therapeutic. So I feel like there's so much information too in the things that bring you happiness and joy, and to intertwine that into your life, because we do. And I know I have become a victim to this, and not to play on words here, but like I get so wrapped up in the healing, so wrapped up in the work, so wrapped up in our business that I forget to have fun. And like even though this life is serious, it's also supposed to be playful. So when you're equally trying to look for the lessons of how you can learn and grow, like equally look for how you can have fun and enjoy life and bring that into your daily routine. Because I posted this on Instagram a couple of weeks ago. It's like, don't forget to have fun today. Like my intuition, my higher self is telling me that. Like I've done enough work, I've done enough healing. It's like, have fun. Just
Yeah.
do something for 30 minutes, an hour. Like, don't forget to have fun, because that joy is going to raise your frequency and it's going to help you, you know, better deal
Yeah.
with what's heavy in this
Yeah.
path.
Well, I was gonna say two things. Don't forget that Soul School has recess. And, right. And then it's also like it's so much easier to learn about yourself when you don't take yourself seriously.
Yeah.
Because then there's nothing to defend. You can
Yeah.
like, oh, like human. Like I make mistakes all the time. Like
I'm still learning it,
yeah,
but yeah, it's hard. But yeah,
of course, yeah. I don't claim to be like perfect at it. But yeah, I like that you pointed that out. That because there's the obvious, like, oh, I got fired, and I can learn how to be a better employee or whatever. Like the obvious lessons come, but then also, yeah, it's like finding, like if coloring gets you excited, like maybe there's something more to that you can learn about yourself, about why, or why dancing helps you be happy. Like that's really, really important. I think that even sometimes, like, we can find the lessons in places where, not necessarily where we're not expecting them, but places that we don't. Yeah, places that we're not expecting to find lessons, or the lessons can be completely different than what we expected. So you might have started. I was journaling the other day, and like I do, journaling is a great way to like just get to like start the day. I always love to like have a cup of coffee in the morning and journal.
it's like my favorite thing.
Great little routine, and it really, really helps me to like get the day off on like the right foot and like make sure my head's in a good place. And one of the things that I really like to do when I'm journaling is get things like out of my head, just get the story out and look at it from a different perspective. So I was reflecting on something that's sort of been like a stressor for most of my life, like something kind of like triggers stress. And I was actually feeling pretty good about it. I was like, okay, like I think I'm kind of coming around and like sort of making sense of this situation, and I'm growing. Let's see where we're at, and just started kind of like reflecting on some old memories and experiences, and I was like writing down these stories in my journal. And I noticed, like, as I'm writing this story, I started to feel like a little tense, just like feeling it, like especially in my chest, and that kind of tends to happen. We've talked about this before. Like I'll feel like a heaviness in my chest, and I was kind of like inspired by the conversation you had with Erika, probably last week by the time this comes out. But
shout out to Erika, episode 118.
Yes,
with Erika Belanger. It's the life-changing power of feeling your emotions, which is it was
a great episode.
Oh my god, one of my favorites.
I was a little bit inspired. I think it was just sort of in the back of my mind, so I put down my pen and I just got sat with this feeling. Okay, I'm feeling something, like there's a lot of energy in my chest. It's kind of working its way out down my arms, and it feels like just tension and like constricted. And as I'm sitting there, almost like meditating, thinking about it, my ego just starts to jump in, like, told you, like you're not over this. Like this is what happens as soon as you start thinking about it. All the tension and like all the little things that my ego knows how to get at me, and he's like throwing this stuff out there, and I was just like, no, stop. Like that's just a story. You're just telling me another story. Like I'm not interested in the story right now. Like what's actually going on? So I sat with it and thought, like, I'm just feeling energy in my chest. Like there's energy radiating out from my heart, and it's like so powerful that it's like making its way down my arms. And I was like, I've always thought that this was stress, but I feel this all the time. But like when I don't have a story with it, this feels a lot like excitement. And it was like this, like that's a powerful lesson right there. And I was like,
that's a powerful reframe.
I have maybe been mislabeling excitement as anxiety and stress for a long time. So I'm like, okay, let's lean into that a little bit. Like, and I was like, yeah, I'm making huge steps right now. Like I said, sorry, like I was journaling, like my journaling process had started because I was feeling really good about transcending an old story. And it was like as I started to write down that story and like get it out for good, my ego was like clawing at me to like, no, don't you put that away. Like I need that story. And it starts like trying to reinforce it. It's like, no, I'm really excited, and like I love the fact that I'm moving beyond this right now.
Yeah.
And I just like I picked up my pen again. I'm like, nope, that is over. Like I am. And it was like this moment where like, that's not what I expected to happen. But because I was willing to sit down and be honest with myself and really question what was happening and what am I feeling and what are my beliefs around this and why do I feel this way, I realized that the story I was telling myself was just completely wrong.
Yeah.
And that and that, like I said, I had been mislabeling like love and excitement as stress and anxiety.
That's
And
really,
it was really, yeah, it was really powerful.
that's so powerful. That's such a huge reframe. Thank you for sharing that
You're
story.
welcome.
I think that that's going to be relatable for a lot of people. And I think what's really great is we now have, and when I say we, I mean you and I, we have this new found kind of perception on how to feel our feelings, where both of us suppressed this for so long. And I think the suppression of that is probably your ego trying to trick you. That's the game. Like the smarter and the more elevated we get in consciousness, the ego's trying to bring us back down to the lower frequencies of fear. So it's trying to trick you and saying like, no, that's not fear. And like, what a cool feeling. Like, we talk about this all the time too. Every moment contains everything.
Yeah.
So when you understand how to feel your feelings and feel the emotions that come, you have access to that. Oh my gosh, my heart's feeling really congested. I feel stressed. I feel anxious. But wait a minute. In a flip of a minute, you feel excitement and joy too. Like it's the flipping of the switch. Now you have access to tap into the excitement of joy and are able to recognize it. And that the biggest story, I think that like what you're saying that you didn't say is you're safe, regardless of what you're feeling. Like you were feeling really anxious and stressed, but then you were surviving, like you were safe. It was okay. It was just the feelings were so intensified from the story. But as soon as you switched the story and then you felt okay to actually feel your feelings, it switched immediately to that excitement. That's
exactly.
Huge lesson.
Yeah, it's enormous. And like you said there, like everything is in every moment. So it's like the same as like you're feeling like butterflies in your stomach.
Yeah.
That could be because something negative is about to happen.
Yeah.
But it could be because something great is about to happen. And you choose. It's like, okay, which story do I want to go with right now? Am I preparing for something negative or am I preparing for something amazing?
I love that.
We all have the opportunity because life keeps giving us lessons.
I know. And I think that once we become aware of this, especially for me, like I'm speaking for myself and for the people who I have also spoken to with this reframe, it changes everything. And it just makes life, you go through life with a different perspective, becoming more caring and loving, sympathetic, not only for yourself, because what you're realizing is that lessons are here to help me transcend and become the best version of myself. You're also sympathetic to other people. They might not become or be aware that life is happening for them, but it's like once you have that awareness, you can let them learn what they need to learn without impeding on their journey and path. It's like a win-win when you realize that we're in this soul flow.